There is a song you know. You may not know you know it, but the moment it begins, that slow, aching climb towards something almost too painful to hold, you feel it. It's called Without You, and almost no one knows where it came from. It came from two men, one named Pete Ham and the other Tom Evans, members of a band called Badfinger. The year was 1970. They were signed to Apple Records, the Beatles' own label, which should have meant everything. And, for a moment, it did. Paul McCartney handed them a song, Come and Get It. They had hits, no matter what, day after day. The world seemed to be opening up, but behind the scenes, something was rotten. Their manager, Stan Polly, was stealing everything they earned, leaving nothing behind. Pete Ham wrote the core of Without You almost as a throwaway. Tom Evans finished it. They recorded it for their album No Dice, and it went nowhere, overlooked. Just two broke musicians pouring real heartbreak into a song the world was not ready to hear. Harry Nilsson was ready to hear it. Nilsson was one of the most gifted pop composers of his generation. He heard Badfinger's version late one night at a party. He thought it was a Beatles song. When he discovered it wasn't, that it belonged to two unknown young men on the Beatles' own label, something in him recognized it, the skeleton of something immense. He took it to producer Richard Perry, and together they rebuilt it from the ground up. Orchestral, devastating, those strings rising like a held breath, Nilsson's voice finding registers of longing that the original only hinted at. When it was released in 1971, it went to number one on both sides of the Atlantic and stayed there, one of the biggest hits of the decade. Pete Ham and Tom Evans finally had a hit, on paper that is. In reality, Polly had stolen that, too. Pete Ham took his own life in April 1975. He was 27 years old. He left a note that named Stan Polly directly, the man who had taken everything. Tom Evans carried that knowledge for 8 more years. The lawsuits dragged on. Not a single dime was ever returned. In 1983, Tom Evans also took his own life. Stan Polly faced no criminal charges. He died in 2002. Harry Nilsson had his own darkness waiting for him. In 1990, he discovered that his financial advisor had stolen every dollar he had ever earned, leaving him with $300 in the bank and a mountain of debt. Like Ham and Evans before him, the man who had given the song its wings had been robbed blind by someone he trusted. Then his heart began to fail. He had been born with the condition. In February 1993, he survived a massive heart attack and spent the next year racing to finish one last album, knowing time was running short. He never finished it. On January 15, 1994, Harry Nilsson died at home in California. He was 52 years old. That same morning, Mariah Carey's recording of Without You was released in the United States. It would go to number 1 across Europe, reach the top of the charts in country after country, and introduce the song to a generation that had never heard it. Millions of people felt what every generation before them had felt, that same unbearable ache, the same sense of something almost too large to survive. Harry Nilsson never heard a single note of it. Almost no one who heard Mariah's version knew about Pete Ham. Almost no one knew about Tom Evans. And almost no one knew about Harry Nilsson. That the 3 men most responsible for the song they were feeling so deeply had each been robbed of everything, and that each had died without justice and without knowing what they had given the world. That's what a song can do. It can outlive the people who made it. It can travel forward through time, carrying all that feeling, all that loss, and arrive in someone's life as if it were written just for them. Pete Ham sat alone at home in 1970 and wrote something out of his own pain. He never knew what it would become. He never got to know.